Cory, Wong, Matteo, Mancuso. You guys have met before?
Yes, we met at NAMM.
Okay.
We met 2 minutes before getting on stage and jamming together. And I haven't seen you since.
Yeah, that was the first time we met, and we talked about like 1 million. Oh, I'm Cory, I'm Matteo, let's go play.
Yeah.
And NAMM, of course, is an industry convention in the States. It's as much about the equipment and the technical side of things as anything else.
Yes, it is the National Association of Musical Instrument Manufacturers, held in Anaheim every January.
And it's a huge tradition.
Yes.
At this point.
Great hang.
It is indeed. And there's always a bunch of YouTube videos
There
that come
sure is.
out of it.
For better or worse. Yeah. Sometimes they sound good, sometimes they sound like garbage. You just gotta show up and play as well as you can.
I think some of my favorite Isaiah Sharkey moments are from NAMM.
Yeah.
You know. But how was it that first time playing together?
Well, I think we didn't have enough time to decide really what to play. It was like, okay, do you know this song? And then, okay, I'll try to follow. And then, as far as I remember, so it was strange but beautiful.
Yeah,
there were so many people, like more than 500 people, if I remember. Like there were a lot of people coming to the bachi stand because we were playing baritone guitars. And if you don't know what baritons are, it's basically this mix of bass and guitar. So the strings are really thick and it's not incredibly easy to play. And when we are like just two guitar players, try to fill in everything, you know? Because we are just two people, so it was incredibly fun, but sweaty at the time. I remember that I had to do a lot of things, and Cory as well. And it was amazing. It was a very good performance.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun, and it's different because we were playing at the Bocce Instruments stand, and our friend Bruno, who's a guitar maker, he makes these baritone guitars that both of us really like. He said, I made these two brand new instruments, play them. Oh, okay, cool. So, you know, put your hands on this instrument that you've never played, and you're like, I don't really know what it's gonna sound like, but I play the guitar, I should know what to do. So we were both just kind of like getting acclimated to the instruments and each other at the same time. And yeah, it made for a really fun and unique experience.
I'm just wondering if you actually can prepare for a moment like that. You can't unless you do have time together.
Yeah, I mean, there's two versions of that answer. Number one is you can get together and figure out, okay, I know this tune, I do it in this key, let's do this form with this feel. Here's how we're gonna split up solos, or I'll comp this and you play the melody and then you comp and I'll solo and we'll switch off, blah, blah, blah. That's one way of doing it where you actually figure it out and prepare. And the other is just a lifetime of preparation where, oh yeah, I've done thousands of gigs with other people where you just kind of have to use your ears and just play and follow each other, and you want to contribute as much as you listen. And I think that's where sometimes less experienced musicians or musicians that have something to prove fall short, is that they don't listen as much to the people that they're playing with, and then it just kind of becomes this mess. But fortunately, Matteo and I were listening and wanting to hang and like hear what each other had to say through our instruments. So that's the other version of it, is just a lifetime of preparation doing that sort of thing.
I think also it's the beauty of NAMM. I mean, you have the chance to see musicians in this environment, like more relaxed, let's say, environment where everyone is jamming and is interacting with other musicians that maybe you met this musician 5 minutes ago. So I think that's why people like to go there and see these people in a more relaxed environment compared to a gig setting, let's say. Yeah.
It's a special kind of a moment, and we could talk for the next 40 minutes about preparing for the moment and just that. Yeah. We could also talk about right hand technique. Because of all the things that are on stage right now, probably the two most valuable things are these two right hands right here. I have to say, you guys have such different approaches, but it's so focused on what you're able to do with the right hand. I mean, left hand same too, but the
Yeah, I guess I never thought of that. We both have very distinct right hand approaches, and that very much contributes to the fingerprint of our sound. And I think that's very cool because we technically play the same instrument, but we really kind of, in a lot of ways, play completely different. You play with your finger. Like, you came up from classical guitar, but you use all four of your fingers?
Yeah, I use these 4 fingers. I never use the pinky because
PIMA.
Yeah, that's it. And I sometimes use these 3 with this kind of technique where I hold my thumb on the 6th string.
Yeah.
Kind of more like a bass technique.
Yeah.
But sometimes I also use my thumb. It depends on the things I want to play.
Is it mostly rest strokes?
It's mostly rest strokes if I have to do single note lines.
Yeah.
And of course free stroke if I have to do chords or something. But it's really a mix between those two, because it depends when I'm playing in distortion, for example. I don't need to develop a lot of volume with the right hand, so I tend to play with the free stroke technique. If I have to play clean, for example, and you don't have that much sustain, I tend to use more my rest stroke technique because you can develop more volume, like the bass.
You dig it.
Sample,
For those of you, I'm realizing that we're speaking maybe a little bit inside. A rest stroke is where you hit the string and you let it hit the adjacent string below. So you hit so hard on the string that your finger ends up landing on the adjacent string. A free stroke, which he's calling it, is where you just hit the string and your finger just goes into the air. Yeah. Cool. Makes sense.
Matteo, do you have any questions for Cory?
Well, there are a lot of questions that are music related, and sometimes I struggle to stay inspired, and I see always Cory that is this kind of machine that never stops. It kind of looks like that it's on like 3-4 places at the same time, and that's the thing I really admire about you, how you're able to manage all of those things, all of this that are happening to you, and this attention, and how are you managing to get all of this together, you know? I know that it's not simple for a musician. You know, so one thing will be how to stay inspired and how to manage all of this in a healthy way for your brain, let's say.
Yeah. Okay, even within that, the way that you set it up, I feel like there's a couple versions of answering that. So I will split it up into a few different ways. Number one, how do I stay inspired? I listen to a lot of music, and I listen to a lot of genres of music, new, old, and I absorb a lot of art. So I go to art museums, I buy art books and look at visual art, movies. I like to go out and absorb landscapes in nature. And a lot of what I try to do is think about how that can apply, something visual can apply to what I can bring sonically. So if I'm looking at a landscape, what does it feel like is the appropriate music for that landscape? So if I'm out, like where I live in Minnesota, it's actually quite like the Netherlands, very much so, where it's a lot of these metropolitan areas, it's pretty flat, and then there's a lot of nature around that you can just go 10 minutes away, get by water and a lot of greenland and that sort of thing. That is going to have being out in nature is going to have a different sonic palette than when I'm in the city. So if I'm in those different environments, I try to get my brain to think creatively on what is the right soundtrack for where I am. Or I'll look at a piece of art and I'll say, what if there was a piece of music to accompany this visual art, what would it be? And how would I use the guitar to express that? And what it does is it allows my creative mind to think differently than just, well, what chords and melodies and notes are available to me on the instrument? Because then all of a sudden I'm going to fall into the things that are technical, or things that I've studied, or things that my fingers just have underneath them on the fretboard. Where if I think about the art first, or if I think about what something is asking for, then I'm never considering the technique for it. It's just, if this thing is asking for this, then that technique is just going to happen for it. That's how I stay inspired. I do a lot of that. As far as how to manage all of that, you brought up one thing is managing time and attention, and then managing different projects. I think those are two different things. When I'm managing projects, a lot of the way that I think about what I do as an artist is I make records and I play live shows. And I try to make sure that when I'm making an album, I'm not too concerned about how am I going to do this live, or how is this going to translate to whatever situation. If I'm making the album, I'm just going to focus on, I want to make the best record that I can.
You don't think about how it's gonna sound like in a live setting. You prepare for it later, basically.
Yeah, I sometimes am concerned about that, and then immediately I just say, well, that might skew my decision on what I think is actually best for the record. Now, that being said, the albums that I make, a lot of them we make live in the room together anyways, but either way, when I'm making records, I just want to focus on what's going to be the best record. And then, I mean, you'll see later today, I have a 9-10 piece band. If we can't figure out between all of us how to make something work live, that's our problem. I have plenty of people to figure out kind of making anything work live. So yeah, the live thing I do treat differently than making the records. And then as far as managing time and attention, I think that's something that all of us in our modern era are trying to figure out. I think not just artists, not just you and myself, are dealing with how to just live and survive and deal with the reality of, you could post something online today of you playing, and literally anybody, anywhere in the world could state their opinion on it for everybody else in the world to see if they want. It could end up on some Reddit thread where people are going to thrash you, or it could end up on some YouTuber does a review of the video of us playing at NAMM, and then all of a sudden, you know, we have to deal with the mental gymnastics of, am I even worth anything anymore? Am I worth anything as a person, as a musician, as a guitar player? You know, like, we're all dealing with these things.
And it will be there forever.
Yes.
On the platform for everyone to see it.
Yeah. I guess in a weird way, fortunately, us as artists are not the only ones. Literally everybody here is vulnerable to that sort of thing. Now, we make ourselves a little bit more vulnerable by expressing who we are through our art so publicly, but I think it's something that we're all trying to figure out right now. And what I find is that the more I separate, so when you tour under your actual name. Like, your real name is your artist name. My real name is Cory Wong. It's not just a stage name. So when people online say something bad about Cory Wong, it might actually not be me. It might be the artist Cory Wong, or like the band
project, yeah.
Cory Wong, yeah, the project. So what I try to do to keep a healthy distance from it is I really have learned to separate who I am as a person from who I am as an artist or a business or a project, you know, because that way it kind of has some layer of insulation.
Yeah, you
so
can
I don't
criticize
take it as
the project, but
Yes.
you don't have anything against the person.
Yes. So I think we sometimes have to do that. And maybe the average person just out there putting things out doesn't have that luxury. We have that luxury where you can choose to put that layer of insulation to kind of protect your mental well-being. But at the end of the day, it's hard.
Of course, I'm still trying to figure out how to do all of this, and it's interesting to hear what you said before, to get inspiration not only from music but from different art forms like pictures or landscapes. Yeah, and that's really beautiful to hear, because I get a lot of that from Sicily. I live in a beautiful place. I live in a small town near Palermo, and I think there's something about it that it will transfer in the music, even if it's not something music related. And back when I started composing, I was thinking about making music in a way that, okay, I learned, I don't know, drop voicings, and I need to apply everything I learned on the compositions.
Yeah.
But then later on I found out that this is an incredibly hard idea to create. Because if you think about that everything you learn needs to be brought to your music, it will be a total mess.
Yeah.
And I learned the hard way that